Hey guys, this is Mike Bradley with Lightheart Labs, and today we're checking out N8N. So, N8N, for lack of a better explanation, is an automation platform. You take a whole bunch of different tasks and you chain them together, and you're then able to automate whole workflows and tasks by taking a bunch of these little boxes and getting them to talk to each other. I got a couple of these myself that I could take you guys through. So this one's pretty cool. It's pretty basic. This is an email manager. So it runs locally on my computer and it makes my life a heck of a lot easier. So what it does is it makes it so anytime an email enters my inbox, it's reviewed. An intelligent assistant reviews it knowing what's important to me, what I need to be aware of, what a critical email versus a non-critical one looks like, and then it categorizes it for me. An email comes in, it talks to the assistant, and then afterwards it decides, is this something that Mike needs to be aware of right away? Is this just an FYI type of thing? Or is this junk? If I need to know about it right away, it immediately escalates and sends me a push notification on my phone. If it's just FYI, something that's good for me to be aware of but doesn't actually require a response, it then goes and gets logged into a system which reports to me each day what's going on, what I need to be aware of, what's going on in the background. And if it's spam or something that I really don't need to be aware of at all, no action occurs whatsoever. It just sits there. So what this does in practice is it makes it so I can focus on my work, I can go around interacting with customers and talking to people and doing all kinds of valuable things without having to constantly monitor my inbox in case something critical came in. I can know and rest easy that if something critical happened, I'll be alerted immediately. And if there's information in there that's really good for me to know and be aware of, but doesn't require a response, I'll get a briefing for it at the end of the day, which is really nice. It takes a lot of the time that people spend managing email, which is a heck of a lot if you're like a service manager, a director, a leader in an organization. You get copied on things, you're constantly being outreached to, you get CC'd and BCC'd to death by just emails all over the place, just burying you under a giant pile. This just kills all that noise. If it's something you need to be aware of and immediately respond to, you know right away. If it's background information, but still something you should be briefed on, you will be briefed at a controlled time later in the day. And if it's spam, it never reaches you at all. Infinitely more efficient than just enabling or disabling push notifications on your phone, because that's everything or nothing, right? So this is N8N, and this is what workflows look like. If we dig into some of these, we'll see something like an email trigger. Here, it's got credentials that are logged in from my email. It's simply just sitting here inside this node. If an email enters my inbox and detects it, it's then going to take information from that email and run it through some code. And it's going to strip out the critical information so it can feed it to my assistant. Then it reaches my assistant, which is an HTTP request, which is going to just go to AI locally on my computer and get processed. And from there, it gets categorized and processed. So what that might look like in the form of an actual workflow is it'll sit here, spin, spin, spin. It'll find a new email, feed it through the system, and decide whether or not it's important. Now, this particular workflow isn't super important. It looks in the background, it actually found something and logged it to FYI. But what is important is the concept. N8N kind of allows you to stitch together these little blocks and make programs out of them. Here's another example of something that I run pretty routinely and I enjoy a lot. So I built a different workflow, which is essentially a researcher. If you're familiar with technology or artificial intelligence, it's super obvious that all this stuff is just rapidly changing and there's new information coming out all the time. How can you stay on top of it? I mean, you could just read for 8 to 16 hours a day and do nothing else, and you still really wouldn't be on the cutting edge of what's happening and what's important. So what I did was I designed this cool little research assistant. It looks at all of these individual RSS feeds for these AI and technology blocks, and it pulls in articles from all of those different sources. So right now it just pulled in one, it's processing it, and I'll have an intelligent assistant that knows exactly what's important to me, exactly what I need to know about reading these articles and essentially writing book reports on them. It then takes all of those book reports and then it logs it into a database. And every single day, it's going to reach out to me, let me know, hey, Mike, here are the things that are happening in AI right now and how they might impact you. So let me show you what like the end result of like something like this might look like. So here's what I call a Lighthouse Intelligence blog. So it's essentially a newspaper that's catered to me that my researcher populates. It reads everything that's happening each day in AI. It weighs that against my business, my needs, my own concerns, and then writes research reports for me and posts them here on a daily basis. So anytime I want, I can just come and get these nice briefings that are distilled down for me of what I need to know about and what's impactful for me. So the big thing to take away from understanding N8N is it's visual programming. It's like Legos. You're just sticking bricks together, and each one of these little bricks has little bits of code or instructions that tell it to do things. Although it seems intimidating at first, it's nowhere near as bad as you probably think it is. Let's just do a test real quick. Something that's really cool about N8N is you can make new workflows, and there's this little function here called import from file. Now, that may not seem like a big deal, but I'm going to show you that it's pretty darn cool. So I'm going to go to my local AI. This is running on my computer, hosted in my instance. All this information stays here locally with me. And I'm going to ask it to build a version of the email assistant that I just showed you guys. So here's my prompt. Looking to make an email management assistant in N8N, sorts emails into need to know, FYI, and spam. All need to know emails get immediately feed pushover. Either way, you get the idea. This is just me describing the workflow that I created for my email. So I'm going to take that, feed it to my local AI assistant, and I'm asking it to make the workflow as JSON so I can import it to N8N. Now, JSON is just like a scripting language that's easy for computers to understand and talk to each other with. So it's thinking, and then it's going to start coming up with a plan. So in the background here, while we're waiting for that, I've got my daily research briefing workflow. You can layer these things on top of each other. So after my researcher takes all those articles and logs them to a database, this workflow executes once per day at 8 p.m. to take all of that information and turn it into what you see on my intelligence briefing site. And you'll also notice a tab here. I've got my email briefings here as well. Anytime I want to know what the FYI emails were for a given day, I can just click here and scroll through them and see what's going on in the background. If it's critical, it reaches me immediately, but if it's just something good for me to be aware of, it winds up here so I can review it. And again, all of this is local on my network. None of this, even though it looks like a website, is actually hosted on the internet. So here we go. I'm returning to my local assistant, and it's given me a workflow. And we're just going to take what we have here and put it into a text file. So I'll open up my notepad, paste, and I'm just going to save that as test workflow. We go back to N8N, open a new workflow, import from file, and boom, I've got the bones of a workflow where I can start off. So I need to connect my email here. and then I need to have a classifier. So what I'm going to do to classify it created like true false logic for if it's a need to know, it goes to a push notification. If it's not need to know, it then flows through FYI, which then gets logged to a Google Sheet, which would be a great way of accomplishing the same thing. So a lot of the bones of what I would need to do to create one of these workflows happened for me in an instant, just talking to a chat. Now, if I go over to N8N's cloud-based platform, one of the nice things about this platform is you can interact with it a lot of different ways. I host N8N locally on my machine, so I don't owe anybody a subscription. I don't have to pay for it. It's open source, it's free. But if you want to host it in the cloud, you can just create an account right here. And even here for the cloud-based accounts, you have AI Workflow Builder with N8N, which is a very similar thing. You kind of just describe what you're looking to build and it builds it for you. So that's a little synopsis of just what N8N is, what's possible, how you can interact with it, the things you can do with it. And as always, I hope that was a little bit enlightening and helpful. And if there's anything I could do to help any of you guys with this at any point, just let me know. And as always, have a great day.